Okay, well, welcome to the Nottingham Buddhist Centre. My name's Gareth, and you're joining me for the drop-in meditation. So today we're doing the mindfulness of breathing. We alternate between two different meditations here. We do the mindfulness of breathing, and we also do the loving kindness, cultivation of loving kindness, the metta bhavana. Yeah, those are two really mutually supportive meditations, and they just go really well together. And the longer you practice them, the longer I've practiced them, the more I've found that they just reveal different aspects of each other. But this week we are looking at the mindfulness of breathing, and coming at that with a particular theme today. So I have been mentioning for a while the fact that we've got this toolkit of meditation sort of introductory content coming. And that will be happening. It will actually go live in September now, so much later than I thought it was going to. I've got most of the content ready, but we sort of want to have it all packaged in together and just do it really well. That's also part of a lot of other things that are happening at the centre in September, which we'll be saying more about as we get closer to that. So it's still a fair way off now. But it's going to be quite an exciting time for us, and hopefully for you as well in come the autumn. As I say, I'll speak a bit more about that nearer the time. So today's theme is breathing into. So I'm sure I've used this phrase myself, and I hear it in other people with guiding meditation and in other contexts as well. I think it's also something that gets said in yoga classes and things like that. Breathing into, what do we mean by that? I sort of know what I mean by that, but it's quite easy to take that phrase for granted, because I don't think it necessarily, it's not necessarily a straightforward thing that we have all automatically understand and have experience of. I know that was the case for me when I first started meditating or was trying yoga, that what was meant by that breathing into seemed quite sort of mysterious and hard to reach. So I thought it would be nice to just spend a little time talking about that and have that as a bit of a focus as we go into the meditation. So on the one hand, it's I suppose it's fairly simple idea that we can use our breath and sort of by breathing in a mindful way and then bringing our attention to different parts of our body, we can use that breath to soften and to relax, or to allow those parts of the body to become more spacious. And so that sense of breathing into, or perhaps breathing with, communicates that idea that there's the breath, which we're very much aware of, and there's the part of the body that we're breathing into. So whether that's the neck, the shoulders, the stomach, just sort of, I suppose particularly with places like the stomach and the chest, that might mean allowing our body to relax and become actually physically allow more, allow the breath to become a bit larger and to fill those spaces a bit more in a more natural kind of way. But you can also breathe into any part of the body, into the fingers, the toes, the feet, where that direct physiological connection between breathing and the mechanics of breathing and the body part isn't so clear. But so what does it mean to do it then? And in some ways I think it's not that we are doing something different when we talk about breathing into the more the less obvious parts of our body, but in some ways that really reveals what the essence of it is that we're doing. That breathing into isn't just a case at least of allowing our breath to get physically bigger, to sort of let the physiology sort of do its thing, although that's definitely part of it, certainly softening in the belly and the chest, and it can be a bit like you kind of get out of the way and the breath expands, and it's very easy to when we're under pressure, to restrict our breathing through perhaps we're a little bit hunched and a little bit under pressure, and that just sort of narrows all the areas that we would normally fill with air as we breathe in and out. And doing that as part of the body scan, just allowing those to sort of undo some of that process can be very beneficial. But there's kind of a bit more than that going on as well. So yeah, there's something just about the act of being conscious of the breath and this part of the body, which, if you do both of those two things at the same time, leads to a kind of relaxation and expansiveness, which isn't so easily explained physiologically. I'm sure that maybe there is one, but I'm sure there's all sorts of studies that could explain how that process works. But for us, it really doesn't really matter how it happens, but only that it can do. So you can breathe into the hands and the feet, and just by mindfully experiencing the flow of the breath as we sort of hold in our awareness that part of the body, perhaps even imaginatively sort of filling the areas with the breath in some sort of slightly visualized form. Not necessarily that we need to picture it in our minds, but that there's some sort of imaginative engagement with it. It's amazing how much, how powerful the imagination can be in that respect. Just conceiving of something happening, even if it goes slightly against our normal understanding of the world and what's possible, can really help us to engage the body's ability to relax or regenerate, or however you want to talk about these kinds of processes. And just doing that, bringing that awareness, does create some kind of change. It's a somewhat mysterious process, actually, and if it doesn't necessarily make sense immediately, I'm sure I must have furrowed my brow the first time I heard the phrases used. That's sort of fine. It isn't. It's slightly counterintuitive, even. That just by bringing attention just with the breath, nothing else, that can change things. So perhaps it's easiest to just go in and do a slightly longer body scan, that first initial part of it, with a bit more of this sort of breathing into being talked about, and just explore that for ourselves. Find out for yourself what does that actually mean, and looking for the answer, not in a sort of conceptual formula, which I'm perhaps struggling to put into words, but in just the feelings themselves, and noticing, even if it's quite subtle, shift in how we experience our bodies when we're trying to do this. Perhaps that's enough from me. So the mindfulness of breathing will otherwise be as normal. So we'll do the 4 stages once we've done this opening sort of exercise. It'll be slightly shorter than usual, the actual mindfulness of breathing part, to make space for it. But we'll do the 4 stages. So breathing in and out as you would normally, and then counting after the out breath in the first stage. Then the second stage, counting before the in breath. Third stage, letting go of the counting, staying with the breath. And then the 4th stage, we are starting to rest our awareness on that point where we first feel the air enter. So for most of us, that's going to be top lip, nostrils, somewhere around there. And just allowing ourselves to be absorbed by the sensations in that area if possible. And still working with distraction as much as it comes up. That's absolutely fine. Doesn't matter how often we drift off. If we're applying ourselves each time we have a moment of clarity and mindfulness about the fact that we've wandered, we are creating a new habit of mind, reinforcing that habit of being in the moment, or returning to the moment. This kind of recollection of purpose, which is an important aspect of mindfulness in the Buddhist tradition. yeah, so yeah, there's no reason for us to feel too critical of ourselves if we need to keep doing that. Yeah, and likewise, if when we're exploring the body and breathing into things, we find parts of the body which are resistant to relaxing or to opening up, that's fine. If it were an easy thing, we probably wouldn't need to approach it in this way. If it could be done just by the bare intention, then yeah, we wouldn't need to breathe into anything. It would already be happening of its own accord. Yeah, so that's absolutely fine. Yeah, just be patient with yourselves. See what difference it makes. If we can just approach the whole area of meditation with some quality of exploration or playfulness, and that really takes a lot of the pressure off of ourselves. We're alive, and this is our opportunity just to sit and appreciate some of the subtler aspects of that phenomena of our own existence, and that's enough. Even if it doesn't necessarily feel like we've gotten anywhere, maybe there's not anywhere to go in the most profound sense. So I'll leave you with that to chew on if you get frustrated. Otherwise, if you want to settle into your meditation postures, if you're not already in them, so finding a nice balance between being grounded onto the chair or the cushion or the stool, feeling your contact with the floor as well, having that stable, broad base. At the same time, seeing if we can find some sense of upward motion. Perhaps not motion, but just an awareness of that direction, sort of flowing through the spine, out through the top of the head. The old image of the thread going through the crown of the head might be helpful. But whenever we're trying to connect with this, we're not forcing our body to do anything. We're sort of just stacking it in such a way that it remains upright as effortlessly as possible. And all of our bodies are different, so what we're going to need is going to be different as well. Moving into the mindfulness of, the body scan before we do the mindfulness of breathing. But in the spirit of exploring this idea of breathing into, I'm going to do that with more awareness of the breath than normal, in a slightly different way. So you might want to take a couple of deep breaths, let them out more slowly. And seeing if as you breathe out, we can just let go of some unnecessary tension in the body. And then bringing our awareness first to the belly, breathing into that. So perhaps that means just beginning by noticing the sensations that are there, the way they change as we breathe. Seeing if by resting our awareness on that part of the body, on the belly, feeling it change as we breathe, seeing if we can let go of more and more tension, more and more unnecessary holding. It's as if the mindful awareness of the breath brings these sensations, these tensions into our awareness. And from there, we may well be able to let them go. And taking the lower back, breathing into that. Seeing if we can release the coccyx into whatever surface we're sitting on. Noticing how that interplay of breath and awareness and its relaxing effects don't require us to breathe more deeply. It might be helpful to do a couple of times at the start. We can have a similar experience just breathing quite naturally. Coming up into the upper back, breathing into that space, the spaces around the shoulder blades. And again, it's fine if we encounter places which are resistant to opening. We're not trying to force any particular change. Just allowing things to open as they become ready. Coming into the chest. Noticing tightness there. Allowing the arms to soften, shoulders to descend. There's no need to hold on in the pectoral muscles. Or in the spaces around the heart. Coming up into the shoulders and doing the same. Really noticing the movement in them as we breathe. Up into the neck. Again, relaxing the neck, allowing the spine to support the head. And then coming into the face and the jaw. Breathing into all the small muscles here. And taking the eyes, the eyebrows. Then up into the forehead and the crown. Now we're starting to get into those parts of the body that perhaps we don't associate with breathing. But just seeing what happens if we explore the idea of breathing into them and breathing through the crown of the head. Setting aside our scientific understanding of the body and just experiencing it. And coming down, and doing the same with the hands. What's it like to breathe into the hands? And the breath filling the hands, softening them. And doing the same with the legs, thighs, calves, all the way down into the feet. And doing the same there, breathing into the feet. And then with the body thoroughly explored, moving into the mindfulness of breathing. In the first stage, just starting to count, dropping in those numbers as we breathe out. Breathing in, breathing out, counting 1. Breathing in, breathing out, counting 2. All the way up to 10 and then starting again. Having explored our body, we can really stay grounded in it, knowing that the sensations of the breath are the real focus, and the numbers are just a secondary interest, just something to give our minds something to play with as they become more accustomed to this way of attention. If we notice the effort to concentrate causes tension anywhere in the body, in the face or the shoulders, We can always breathe into them and let that go. If our attention is really wavering, or we find we've wandered off, just calmly, kindly coming back to the breath, taking up the counting again. Moving into the second stage, and staying with the breath, still counting. This time we're counting before the in-breath. So just dropping those numbers in one at a time. Counting 1, breathing in, breathing out. Counting 2, breathing in, breathing out. All the way up to 10 and then starting again. And as we meditate for longer, you may notice tensions arising in the body. It may not necessarily be new tension, it may just be deeper levels of what was already there becoming clear. And regardless of what we've noticed or what arises, we can just meet them in the same way. Bringing the breath to them, creating space, inviting them to open, release. And being patient if that doesn't happen right away. And if you lose the number, or you find you've counted the same one more than once, we can always just start again from 1. Moving into the 3rd stage, letting go of the counting, staying with the breath. And there's space here to consider a whole body breathing. And for us today, perhaps that's an opportunity to explore one of those more distant parts. Breathing into the hands or the feet, the crown of the head. Asking that question for ourselves. What does it mean to breathe into this part of the body? And still working with distraction as often as we need to. Coming back when we wander off. Practicing with that compassion that we develop in the other meditation. Trying to meet our own experience with kindness and with curiosity. Moving into the fourth and final stage, bringing our awareness to that part of the body where we first feel the air enter. So the top lip, the nostrils, somewhere around there. And again, what does it mean to breathe into this part of the body? To breathe into somewhere so specific. To allow it to become fuller and softer and brighter even. And patiently allowing the changes to unfold. And starting to let that go, coming back to a broad awareness of the body again. Taking a few final moments just to sit without any intention. And then when you're ready, we can draw the meditation to a close. Okay, well, I hope that was beneficial for you. Certainly enjoyed it. Yeah, so now there's going to be, after this, a sort of Zoom chat. So I'll be in a Zoom room if you want to come and talk to me about anything that's coming up in your meditation, whether that's today or just in general. Yeah, you can find the link for that in the video description. Hope it's still there. Otherwise, thank you very much for joining me, and we'll be back tonight at 7:30, and then again on Friday at 1 o'clock. And if you are able to be generous to the centre financially, then you can also find the link for that below in the video description, and also on our website we've got a donor box link there. Yeah, we are still closed. We're part of what's coming up is us planning how we can reopen and what form that's going to take. But it's going to be a long time before we are able to open the actual building in the normal way. So we're still very much dependent on the generosity of the people interacting with us online. So if you are able to contribute to that, that would be wonderful. Yeah, you can find the link below. If not, then please just keep coming and making the most of this. Yeah, and I will hopefully see you again soon. Just say hello, Marcus. Nice to have you with me again, and nice to have you with me, Shalak. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Anyway, nice to meet you, and yeah, hope to see you again soon. So I'll be here for just a couple more minutes, and then I'll move over to the Zoom thing. Okay, thank you very much.